Welcome to Bryer's CD Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome back to another video. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about my top 30 best CD purchases of 2022. So if you saw yesterday's video, I talked about 10 of the worst, but now I'm speaking a bit more positively today because I'm talking about 30 of my favorite ones. Those albums that make me want to do that. Just perfect. So there were a ton of good albums in this year that I've discovered, and yeah, I just want to share them in this video. So a couple of things. For one, it doesn't matter when they came out. They don't have to be released in 2022. Actually, I think only one album in here was actually released in 2022, so date does not matter. Second, the only albums that are qualified for this is albums that I was not familiar with prior before I bought them. So albums like Led Zeppelin 4 or Band on the Run by Paul McCartney and Wings, even John Lennon Plastic Ono Band, like those albums are not going to be mentioned because I was already familiar with them prior to actually getting the physical copy of it. So these albums were completely new to me. So without further ado, we have 30 to get through, so I'm going to try and get through this quickly. So before I start, please go ahead, please give the video a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. So let's do it. So I do have them in a order. I'm not sure if this is the definitive ranking, but I'm happy with what this is. My number one is pretty much set in stone. Everything else was kind of just like, where do you put them in? But here we go. Starting off, number 30, we're going with Miles Davis with Kind of Blue. This year I was really starting to get into jazz, and this was definitely a good one to get started with. You know, Miles Davis, very famous jazz musician. I mean, he needs no introduction, just how influential he was in the genre, and very good stuff, very good music to put on when I'm working. But yeah, this is what they call modal jazz. I don't know much of music theory, so I'm not an expert on it, but definitely an interesting. I know it plays around with modes a lot of the time, but it sounds very good. If you are thinking about getting into jazz, this is probably a good one to get started with. So there you have it. That's number 30. Okay, these next two are both black metal albums because, you know, black metal was really a big thing this year for me. First up, we have Judas Iscariot in To Embrace the Corpse's Bleeding. Really enjoyed this one. It's dark, it's absolutely evil sounding. Again, not for everybody, but I kind of liked it. And what I love about this one, and even the next one I'm going to talk about, what I liked about them is because they mix things up. Because, you know, your typical black metal is kind of the same, you know, down drop beats the whole time, a lot of tremolo picking, not much variety. But Judas Iscariot, and particularly to this album, they really changed it up in terms of the drumming, and the riffs were very good, and, you know, yeah, very good stuff. And same thing can be said with my next one. We have Immortal, At the Heart of Winter. I've shown this before a couple times. This is probably my favorite black metal album I've heard at this point. What I like about this, it incorporates a lot of thrash elements. So, you know, think like Megadeth or early Metallica, and they took those elements and brought into the black metal genre, which sounds really good. You have a ton of great riffs and solos throughout, and again, the drumming, they mix it up, and yeah, it's a very, very good album. And I think that's all the black metal in this list, but still, I still quite enjoy this one. Alright, next, I've shown this one actually recently as well. So kind of going back to 1969, we have Canned Wheat by the Guess Who. Again, I've talked about this one before, so I'm not going to say anything new here, but yeah, just go check this album out. Just really good late 60s rock. Just Guess Who are quite an underrated band, as from what I've gathered. After that, we're going to go with Ringo, with his Ringo album from 1973. So, yeah, there was like no bad songs on here. Like, it's just Ringo being Ringo, and I love Ringo, you know, he's one of my favorites. Paul's my number one, but I'm gonna be honest. I think Ringo is my second because I basically grew up with him, especially with a certain Blue Tank Engine. But regardless, but yeah, really good stuff. You have I'm the Greatest, Photograph, of course, 6 o'clock, You're 16, Step Lightly, and even the bonus songs on here, which were just the singles, like It Don't Come Easy, early 1970, and Down and Out, are really good stuff. But yeah, people say this is his best, and I haven't heard everything by Ringo, so I'm interested. So I'm gonna probably look into more Ringo albums in the future. Okay, next we have The Wallflowers, Bringing Down the Horse. Very surprised when I first heard this one because I knew that it had Jacob Dylan, which of course is Bob Dylan's son. So this was his musical project. And yeah, this was very good as well. So just good, like 90s, like kind of roots rock in a sense. A little bit of Americana in there. But yeah, great. Really good. Let me see if I can find the track listing so I can name you a couple songs. I know One Headlight was a big song on here. Bleeders is really good. 60th Avenue, Heartache, Invisible City, Josephine, Angel on My Bike. Yeah, just a very good album. And I really like the organ because you hear the organ a lot on this album, and it sounds really good. It really fits the music. So The Wallflowers, awesome stuff. Started getting to Tom Petty a bit more this year, and I'm going to be mentioning Full Moon Free Fever. Right, a lot of good songs on here. Free Falling, which is a very well-known song here. Same can be said for I Won't Back Down. But the other songs are really good. You're So Bad, Depending on You, Facing a Crowd. It has a cover of Feel a Whole Lot Better, which I still prefer the Byrds version, but Tom Petty does a pretty good job on here. Zombie Zoo. Yeah. I mean, Tom Petty, rest in peace to him. Yeah, he definitely deserves the status he has accumulated over these decades. Okay, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Cosmos Factory. I mean, this is my favorite one. I did a ranking video on the catalog earlier this year. You can check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, just top to bottom, this is a perfect album. Ramble Tamble, Don't Accuse Me, Traveling Band, Looking Out My Back Door, Run Through the Jungle. Of course, you have Who Will Stop the Rain and Heard It Through the Grapevine. All fantastic stuff. Here's one not many people would know. So we have China Crisis with Flaunt the Imperfection. So I've talked about this before in my last CD haul, but if you don't know, this is a kind of a new wave pop type of band. And this album was produced by Walter Becker by Steely Dan, which is pretty interesting. And it sounds really good. There's some great hooks on here. The vocals, nothing spectacular vocally, but, they fit the mood it's going for. It's just another good feel-good album. Like, I can put this on and I can totally, vibe with it, But yeah, for a suggestion on what to start with, I suggest you just listen to the song You Did Cut Me. So, You Did Cut Me is the song. That's a really good, that was my first song I heard from here, and yeah, I was hooked immediately. Has a little bit of a jazz thing to it. Again, it's not a jazz album, but it has little hints of it. But yeah, really good. Midnight Oil's next. We have Diesel and Dust. Yeah, started to dive more into Midnight Oil because they were a band I only knew Beds Are Burning, and that was all I knew. But yeah, this year I bought this one, and I bought a couple more after that. And yeah, I've become quite a bit of a Midnight Oil fan. Again, I really enjoy the lead singer's voice. Peter Garrett, I think is his name. Let me verify that real quick. Let me see. It should just say a track listing. Come on, is there a track list? No, not track listing. Personnel listing. No, doesn't really tell you. Well, that's a shame. But I'm pretty sure it's Peter Garrett. That's the name of the lead singer. If I'm wrong, I'll put some text there. But yeah, very good stuff. I love his vocal style. It's very unique. Some people might not like it, but I love it. It's so different. If you see live videos of him performing, it's just like, whoa, look at this guy. Like, he's trying to give Mick Jagger a run for his money. Not quite at that level, but, you know, very unique. So, Midnight Oil, Diesel and Dust. Probably, I think this is a good one to start with if you're curious. Basically, they're kind of a rock band, a late, kind of an 80s rock band. But yeah, good stuff. Marillion, Clutching at Straws. So we have an 80s progressive rock album, and yeah, I totally get the hype around Marillion. Granted, I've only heard this one and Childhood Memories is what it's called. Misplaced Childhood, that's the name of the album. I had to look up there. But yeah, Clutching at Straws, this was the last album to have their first singer, Fish, before he would leave the band. And yeah, this is kind of like a concept album, from what I've gathered, it's a concept album about what Fish was kind of going through mentally, because he was kind of depressed around this time. So he's kind of putting it all into this album, and you can feel the emotion in here. So yeah, very good stuff. If you like, I'd say the perfect, like, they're kind of like Peter Gabriel era Genesis, especially when it comes to Fish's vocals. He has a very Peter Gabriel style to his voice, which I enjoyed. And yeah, musically it's spectacular. Gene Clark, no other. I talked about this one countless times throughout the years, but yeah, very terrific album. You got folk, you got a bit of gospel, a bit of soul in here, a bit of country. It's just a good blend of all that together, and you have a terrific album. And you know, I'm pretty sure I've said it before, but you know, this album did poorly when it first came out, and it really kind of messed with Gene, like to a point where he was kind of in this depression he never really got out of, which is kind of a shame, because nowadays it's considered a pretty well-known, kind of a well-known album, but it definitely has a much better reputation than it did back then, so that's good. So go ahead and check this one out if you're curious. Sparks, Kimono My House. Yep, had to get some Sparks in here. Didn't get to talk about them that much this year, but they're a very cool band. Like, if you watch their documentary that they made not that long ago, it's a very good watch, and it made me want to get more Sparks. You have probably the most well-known song, This Town Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us. Great song. Then you have Amateur Hour, Falling in Love with Myself Again. That's the whole title, Falling in Love with Myself Again. Then you have Here in Heaven, great song. That's probably one of my favorites as well. Then you have Equator, Complaints. Yeah, very fun album. And I think this is next up. This is probably my only album from this year. Journey, Freedom. So this is their latest album that came out a few months ago. Some people didn't like it. Some people kind of liked it. I really enjoyed this one. Like, this is probably my favorite Arnel Pineda era album, if I'm going to be frank. Together We Run, great opening number. Don't Give Up on Us, Still Believe in Love, nice little slow ballad there. I dig it. You Got the Best of Me, The Way It Used to Be, Afterglow. Whoa, what Afterglow? Love that song. You have Dean Castronovo singing vocals on that one, and I really enjoyed that one. United We Stand, Beautiful As You Are. Yeah, a strong album in my opinion. Again, the big complaint is that it doesn't have the best production on it, but it didn't bother me, so take that for what you will. But yeah, Journey, Freedom, of course, if you're keeping up with Journey now, apparently the drama is still ongoing, so Freedom is kind of not a good way to describe Journey at the moment. But, you know, at the time, it was a good time being a Journey fan. So that's that. And I believe now we're at 16, because I kind of divided them in half here. You can't see it, but I divided them into two halves. We have 15 on one side, 15 on the other. That makes it 30. So next up we have Paul McCartney, Flaming Pie. I mean, this still gets the award for best packaging ever. I mean, granted, I have Band on the Run Ram, which also has the same style, but this was the first, so this is still number one for me. But yeah, a good album by Paul here. Just lots of great songs on here. You have the song we were singing, great opening song. You have Some Days, Calico Skies, title track. Let's see, Little Willow, Really Love You, and Beautiful Night. I feel like Beautiful Night should have been the closing track, but Good Day is also pretty good for what it is, especially when you know the context of it. But yeah, Flaming Pie, Paul McCartney, terrific stuff here. So now we're at the halfway point. We're at number 15 now, I believe. David Bowie, Station to Station. There's only 3 songs on here, but this is just a terrific album. Title track alone is definitely worth checking out. You also have Golden Years, which is a pretty big hit off here. Then you have the other tracks on here, which also just has a great atmosphere to it. So this was one of David Bowie's best periods. So fantastic stuff. Elton John, Tumbleweed Connection, another big surprise, because I put this one up and this quickly became one of my favorite Elton John albums. Just fantastic. Like, again, no bad songs here whatsoever. I enjoyed everything here. Yeah, this was definitely kind of his more country Americana album. He's kind of taking influence from the band, and he does a fantastic job here. If you have not heard Tumbleweed Connection by Elton John, I really suggest you check it out. You will not be disappointed. Okay, I really got into Simon and Garfunkel, and my favorite one I've heard is, without a doubt, Bridge Over Troubled Water. Yeah, it's the best one. It's their last one. But yeah, they really ended on a really good note. I mean, the title track, just beautiful. Then you have Cecilia, The Boxer, Baby Driver, Bye Bye Love. Yeah, it's a classic album. Now here's another underrated album, and another kind of surprise. Still has the worst album cover in this entire batch here, but still the music inside this is just wow. Mystery to Me by Fleetwood Mac. Again, terrible cover, but still the music is just phenomenal. Emerald Eyes, Believe Me, Hypnotized, Keep On Going, The City, The Way I Feel, and of course the song Why. Like, I've been saying this a few times already, but please, if you've not heard Why, check that out. One of my favorite Christine McVie songs ever. So yeah, love it. Definitely, I think it's my favorite of the Bob Welch era currently. I have not heard everything from that era, but from what I've heard, Mystery to Me is number one for me. Okay, Carole King, Tapestry. Another album I don't need to say much because I've talked about this before in good length, I think. Top to bottom, fantastic. Love Carole King's vocals. I almost said Elton John again, but Electric Light Orchestra, Out of the Blue. Yeah, that's right. I did not hear this full album until this year. Because I knew some of the big songs on here, of course, like Turn to Stone, Sweet Talking Woman, and of course, Mr. Blue Sky. But other than that was pretty much it. And so I put it on, listened to the whole album, and wow. It really does. The album does... Like the songs I mentioned just really elevate once you're hearing them in context. But other songs on here like Across the Border, Starlight, Jungle, and of course Summer and Lightning. Terrific song. The Whale, Birmingham Blues. Yeah, this is my favorite Electric Light Orchestra album just right now. Yeah, masterpiece. Same thing could be said about this one. You have George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. Of course, he comes in this little box set here. Yeah. I bought this one. You know, many people say this is the best solo Beatles album, and I totally get it. Like, so many good songs on here, and of course George Harrison is pretty much just unleashing all this material he's had for quite a few years. Is absolutely fantastic. Like George Harrison, I mean, he's definitely a very underrated member. He's the quiet one, but he really was a very talented individual. Great guitar work. You have a lot of guest stars on here. But yeah, I can name all my favorite songs on here, but there's a lot, so everything is just fantastic. And even a lot of the jam songs, like the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like the last 5 songs, aside from It's Johnny's Birthday, even I enjoy those. So yeah, All Things Must Pass by George Harrison, terrific. The Beach Boys, once again, I went, and in the last video I talked about their worst albums. Now I'm talking about one of their best, Sunflower. Yeah, again, I'm going to talk more about this in my live stream with Garrett and Nick, but yeah, all you need to know, it's truly fantastic. Definitely an album that's worth checking out if you have not heard any other Beach Boys album. Yeah, I love it. I love this one. Quadrophenia, The Who. I was this close to bringing up the Who by numbers. I think that's also a very underrated album. But Quadrophenia, I think, edges it out just slightly because it definitely has an emotional attachment to me because I kind of relate to some of the topics this album has. You know, kind of being an outcast in a sense. Yeah, you have Love Reign Over Me, of course, which is like one of my favorite closing tracks ever. Along with, of course, Won't Get Fooled Again, but Love Reign Over Me is up there. The Real Me, title track, Cut My Hair, The Punk and the Godfather, Helpless Dancer, The Rock, like that. Like even the instrumental stuff on this album is also worth noting. So yeah, that's. All right, let me see, what number are we at? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're at number 6. So we're almost done. At number 6, I'm going to go with an album I've been kind of obsessed with once I first bought it, but Titanic Rising by Wiseblood. I love this album. I was so shocked at how much I enjoyed this one. Again, there's her inside there. Yeah, it's just so many great memorable songs in here. Again, her voice has a very Karen Carpenter sense to them, but it does not sound like the Carpenters. It definitely has a more modern, kind of an indie rock, indie pop sort of sound that I think sounds incredible. Like there's a good atmosphere to a lot of the songs. And even the more popular songs on here are absolutely fantastic. Like, I think, sadly, this doesn't come with the track listing, I don't think. Let me see if the disc has it, because I do want to name some songs on here. Don't drop the CD, though. Oh, yeah, it does. So songs to check out on this album. Andromeda. Love that song. Like, even has some, I think it sounds like there's some slide guitar on it, which sounds, wow, love that one. Every Day. The first song, I can't really read that one. Kind of the title one. But the first song, go check that one out. Movies, Mirror Forever. Let me name one more. Picture Me Better. Yeah, like absolutely loved this album. One of the great surprises of 2022. Even though the album came out in 2019, I think it's worth checking out. And even her latest album that came out last month is also worth checking out. So, Wiseblood, Titanic Rising. Jesus Christ Superstar, another kind of a concept album, but it will go on to be a very famous play. But yeah, you have Ian Gillan as Jesus here, and you know how much I love Ian Gillan, so I had to get this one. But everyone else who are part of this, again, fantastic. All the other singers, the music, just very theatrical, which definitely suits me. Again, it's definitely a different take on the whole Last Supper, the death of Jesus and all that stuff, the crucifixion and all that. But yeah, fantastic. I love this one. I played this album a lot this year. As with this one, Steely Dan, The Royal Scam. This is my favorite Steely Dan album. It's funky, just many great memorable songs on here. Again, top to bottom, no bad songs, especially the Fez. I love the Fez. That's probably my favorite song on here. Also has Kid Charlemagne, the title track, just a good, like, ominous, haunting number that totally sums up this whole album to me. But yeah, love this one. Okay, we're in the top 3. Number 3, Michael Schenker Group, Assault Attack. Fantastic early 80s hard rock, heavy metal album. Graham Bonnet on lead vocals here, just killing it here. Probably my favorite vocal performance I've heard from him as of now. And then, of course, Michael Schenker, great guitar player. So many riffs, great riffs and solos throughout. Title track, Rock You to the Ground. Dancer, which is kind of a more commercial sounding song, but still fantastic. Samurai, Desert Song. Broken Promises, Searching for a Reason, and then it finishes out with Ulcer, which is kind of an instrumental song, but still awesome. So yeah, fantastic. Love, love, love it. Number 2, Joni Mitchell, Court and Spark. Just, oh my god, I love Joni Mitchell, and this is definitely my favorite one I've heard still. Just so many great songs on here, and musically it's one of her best. Like a good mixture of folk, jazz, it's a bit of soft rock as well. Absolutely love this one. I adore Joni Mitchell, one of my favorite singers ever. So yeah, Court and Spark. But my number 1 favorite album that I bought in 2022 goes out to my favorite female singer of all time. And that, of course, is Kate Bush. And I bought a lot of Kate Bush, but to me, The Dreaming was my top pick. Even though I prefer Hounds of Love, I bought Hounds of Love not this year, so had to go with one I bought this year. So The Dreaming was one of them, and yeah, I will say this is probably not a good one to start with if you want to get into Kate Bush, because this is kind of her very out there album. Like, she's, at this point, she's producing so on her own. Like, a lot of experimentation here. She's really pushing the boundaries of her vocal range. So she's putting on different voices. She's going low, she's going high, she's going all over the place. But I love it. Again, I'd say Hounds of Love is still a good album to start with. But once you get used to that one, then that's when you come back to The Dreaming, once you're more accustomed to Kate Bush's style. But yeah, again, every song here is just so good. Like sat in your lap. Pretty much sums up the album. Like, that gives you a good indicator of what you're in for if you ever want to check this album out. Suspended in Gaffa, the title track, Get Out of My House, Night of the Swallow, Pull Out the Pin. Just, I mean, I love Kate Bush. I mean, I became a huge fan this year. And yeah, it's just absolutely fantastic stuff. And before I go, I do want to show some honorable mentions, so let's do that right now.
With all my heart, I love you, baby. I've been running from a dark doors, I can't lose it. I have wandered through this world, country roads, take me home. Today is gonna be the day that they're gonna throw it back to you.
So there you have it. That is my top 30 best CD purchases I've bought in 2022. In the comments below, let me know your thoughts on these albums, and also let me know some of your best purchases this year. That should be interesting to know. So again, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this, then please give it a like, subscribe for more. I'll see you tomorrow. That's where I'll give my whole end of the year reflection, and we'll talk about all the highlights and also what's next for 2023. So again, I'll see you then. Take care and goodbye for now.